Hello, good morning, LinkedIn. Thanks for joining us today. Those of you who are here, please feel free to drop your name, say hello in the comments where you're joining us from, and maybe the community you're building, because I'm always fascinated to know about people's communities. But we're joining today to have another great 30-minute conversation just about community building, building belonging. We are so very fortunate today to be joined by Catherine, who designs beautiful communities for members and really focuses in on how to get them to keep on returning. So, Catherine, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks, Tasha, for having me.
Yeah, this is exciting. And I started this series, I guess, like in the fall last year, where I just had been slowly connecting with more community builders and realizing there was a ton of things that many of us who've been doing this for a while are talking about behind closed doors, but is not like out to the general public. But as community building gets to be such a hot topic, people want it, people are excited about it. It felt like we should start unpacking the how and why and all of that of community. So I'm going to jump in here and oh, it's Nikki. Hi, Nikki. Thanks for joining us. That's awesome. But I'm going to start off, Catherine, with just going community building journey in a nutshell. What does that look like for you? Tell us about it.
Yeah. So for me, I live in Colorado. I'm a Colorado native. Been here my whole life, and I essentially first got out of college and went straight to a big for-profit company and immediately hated it, and very quickly got looked for another job. Got another job at Medical Group Managers Association. So that was a pretty large national association with 50 state chapters, but headquartered in Colorado. They had an online community for their membership. There are 33,000 or so members across the nation, and nobody on staff who really understood it or knew what to do with this thing that they had set up essentially and just let members access. So I was handed that. And that started it all, where I just went and started self teaching and figured out the platform and really kind of fell in love with it and fell in love with the connections with the membership and seeing firsthand the value that the community was bringing them. And then I started joining online communities because I really didn't understand what they were outside of like social media groups before that. And yeah, just fell in love. And this is where I am now.
That's awesome. And what, just like happy to throw it there. What are exactly you doing right now?
Yes. So now, for the last 9 years, I have been self employed for my company, Confident Communities Consulting, to specifically help professional associations, trade associations, and other purpose driven membership organizations to build robust online communities where their members can connect with each other, connect with the organization, build trust and value for their membership.
I love that. And I think even the word members, and community can often get really intertwined. And sometimes those completely cross over and they are one and the same thing. But sometimes it's,
Mhm.
I don't know, we use a lot of the same terminology broadly across many things. So I love that this is where we're headed today. And just want to jump in because I'm part of a couple great communities. Shout out to Nikki for one that she started, and she's here in the comments. But how do we, highlight some of the great stories of impact that we've created? I don't think community builders are great at doing that very often. So, what's a moment that you've been proud of in your community building work?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's that qualitative data in a way, but really what that means to me and what is most like valuable and meaningful when I see it happen is when a member posts inside of the community, like thanking the community as a whole of, hey, this has been so valuable to me, or I've gotten like something that's just saved me thousands of dollars from this community because my peers answered my questions. Where members say things like that organically, and it really just displays the value that they're getting from the community that you're building and working on and trying to create that value. So when you know that it's happening and people are sharing that, I just love that feeling. And I love seeing that in the community and using that to create stories to then, as that qualitative data, share with executives or higher ups the story around why the community is valuable outside of just numbers, right?
That's a pretty special part of being a community builder is that, sometimes you do feel like you're like the bridge or the translation between community and like impact slash outputs, right? Like you're living in this middle zone because you get a lot of that qualitative story component from people. And, just I totally nerd out with our nonprofit Hive community when I watch people tag each other in, and I know both of them, and I had the opportunity to put them in a conversation or introduce them to each other, and you watch what happens later. It's a little addictive sometimes, to be honest, where you're like, "How can I make this happen again?" Um, but I think it's a really cool part. That's a great example. Love it. And we're going to just jump right in. These are only 30-minute conversations. If anyone has any questions or things they want to bring up with Catherine while we have her, please feel free to as well. But toughest challenges that you think communities are facing? You've been in this sector a really long time.
Oh, there's so many things. There's a lot of challenges to community, right? It's
Yeah.
not as easy as I think a lot of people assume it is, when they just look at it for the face value. But one of the toughest challenges that I see, particularly working with things or organizations like associations, is they sort of know they need a community for their membership, but they start building it before they have a full purpose and strategic outline of really why they are doing it. Not just, oh, we have a membership at our organization, so we create a community. Like, that's all that matters. That's all we need to know. That's not the end of the story. That's not enough to be able to really effectively build a successful community for your members. So you have to work with your membership, work with specific volunteers, a group of people who are going to give you feedback and that can build it with you. And the staff at the association or organization are not just making assumptions about what the membership wants, right? So I see that happen all too often. It's still very common. And I'm really trying hard to push the message forward of we have to build the community with the membership, not just for them, if you want it to last a long time.
I love that. And I think that's one of the hard parts of it's always challenging to run a listening tour and hear a bunch of feedback about things that you're not excited about doing, right? As the community builder, as potentially the like larger organization. But at the same time, sometimes giving a space for people to voice ideas and then go, I've done this a few times with my community members. You know, I'm going to empower you to start a book club. I'd love for you to do this. I will even post about it over here, but I'm not figuring out the components of how we're going to do this. But you, community member, multiple of you have said this. Here, I'm going to introduce each other. Like, here, go. I empower you to do this, right? Or
Yeah.
how do you think we could actually pull this off? Where do you think we could find funding to do this if you're in the nonprofit space or, smaller associations? I think sometimes like it then puts it back to the community to go, could we do this? And I actually think a lot of people are either A, really excited to do that and they do jump in, or B, turns out it wasn't actually something they wanted all that much at all, but you asked. And so they were like, sure, let's go for it. Right. And that tension point for community builders to listen, but not necessarily do everything that's asked is really hard.
Yeah, that's fair. It's not always fun to do that listening tour, but it is so necessary. And being open minded, right? Just being open to that stuff is so important. And even just if your members feel heard, that you're asking those questions up front and early on in the process, but also throughout the process after you've already got your community going and, right, how can it evolve over time? Being open to those conversations is really valuable to your membership, worthwhile of your time. And, those kind of difficult conversations are things we all need to practice a little more often. But it's a good opportunity. It makes your members feel heard, even if you can't deliver on all of it. Right. Ask where they can help or be part of it. And just being honest where resources don't exist, that's okay too.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of opportunities for sure within nonprofit communities, but or communities in general. Nonprofit communities is just what I'm often in. But the association space, like people wanted to be into member groups. Like there's a great feeling of belonging where I'm a part of this. And I think the shift has been really interesting to watch that why people came into membership in the first place is still the same reason they want to be in membership now, but what bells and whistles do they actually care about in your community, and which ones are actually not that important to them? But if you're not listening and continuously getting that feedback, you could be building a lot of things that actually don't matter that much to your community members.
Right. That is actually a huge point. I'm glad you brought that up of you don't have to do everything, and do pay attention over time to your community of, okay, what's not effective? What are people not using? Let's stop doing that so we have the capacity and resources to do what they really want to do and put more effort into those areas of the community that members are getting the most value out of.
I love that. That's fantastic. And I think you just hit on so many of the challenges. And I know your space is a little bit more into association, but it also, like, this is going to bring right in perfectly to my question about opportunities, because I think a lot of associations that I've either talked to or been in conversations with, they're feeling a little concerned that there is no opportunities in the association space right now, and are really worried about attrition and people staying. And so, with this being kind of your specialty, what would you reassure people who are in association work to go, oh no, there's still lots here?
Yeah, right. I think I saw an article this morning, but there's so many articles and bits of research out there by other professionals in the space. But associations can specifically really lean into that relationship building and connectivity and member networking that they have so much, you know, capacity to create through the tools and data and information, that the association already has. That's what members really do want. So it is particularly with like professional associations, right? People are there to advance their career, to make their day-to-day job easier, to learn the next biggest thing coming along in their industry, and yeah, particularly find their next job, right? Like that is the number one thing. So where associations can really lean into that and make it easy, a community is a really great place to allow that sort of self-servicing. Even the member directory where members can connect with one another, they all have their own member profiles. It's a you know for associations, it's usually a private community where just the members get access to it, so it's essentially already vetted as well,
Yeah.
right? It's a safer space than even LinkedIn
Yeah.
in that way. So it's like lean on that. That is value that is still very tangible and members still want, that associations can deliver on. And I think they forget that sometimes, where they assume they have to deliver, oh, the newest technology, or oh, we have to do something with AI. But the relationship building is a huge area of opportunity that I don't want to see it get forgotten in the mix of everything else going on and all the newest, greatest, latest tech. And, we have to keep up with other organizations. But a lot of for-profit organizations are not that great at the relationship building side of it.
Absolutely. I'd say they're not great at it, and I don't even know that they're leaning into it all that much. So there's a
Right.
huge opportunity here where people you can only capture so much of someone's time, right? And time, energy, their connective abilities, especially as so many of us are like suffering from like all of the AI slop that's out there. Your association, this closed kind of community place, you want that to still feel really like, hey, I'm coming here to connect with humans. There's other humans here and we're a part of something. I think there's a real appetite for that right now, that even more than 5 years ago. I think that it's just growing, not decreasing.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't hear that being talked about enough at nonprofits or at associations. And it's, hey, let's not forget that. And especially like AI has its place, but let's use it to make, pieces of the platform or other things easier and save staff time. But the community is still that space for human to human connection and authenticity, and lean into that and say it, make sure your members are super aware, hey, there's no AI bots in here. Like this is that safe space that is still real human to real human. Come and connect with people who are actually going to hire you for your next job.
Yeah. And it's that battle between like time being so valuable, right? And I'd heard from a couple individuals just on different platforms that have now some AI enabled pieces for community building tech that, people ended up turning off some of it because people were like, well, I don't want the AI summary. I want to read what somebody, another community member said here. Because sometimes you want the nuance of someone saying, oh, this really didn't go well for me. Here's the following reasons. And it might not resonate with you because this is how humans interact, but the messiness of community is sometimes also what people want, right? Like they don't want like the perfect transcript and like just the talking points out. They want to hear that nuance and, the random how someone views something, and it might align with you and it might not align with you, but that perfection piece that AI can bring us is not always what people are looking for when they want to belong to something.
Yeah, right. AI is great for like customer support communities where you're going for a specific answer to a problem you have or an issue you're encountering. But in professional association communities, you're going there to understand other people's experience and the context of that experience. And AI will never give you that, or at least not anytime soon.
It's our one advantage still as humans, right? Is like you can't totally replace it. And I was talking with someone, one of our own community members this morning, because this is Hive Chat Day, so things are always bananas here. But some of what they're really looking into is like that design, like really looking back into like design states that take into account that mixture of analog to hybrid in a way that feels good right now for people. And so maybe I'm going to ask that question to you in terms of analog and going back to more in person now that we have the capacity to do so. What are you seeing as trends for associations? And do you think that should be something that they're encouraging, jumping in on? Like, how do we bring that desire and need for in person community or closer to in person community back to associations?
Right, absolutely. It is something associations are leaning back onto really hard. Um, I mean, that in person annual conference or like chapter meetings happening in your local area have always been really important for associations and ways for members to connect. I think that really both are necessary at this point in time, right? There are still some people who cannot get there in person. There's a lot of audience segments that you're kind of leaving out if you only really focus and put those resources on the in-person side of meeting and connecting.
Yeah.
So we need to bring both together. The online community needs to be that, hey, your place to connect 24/7, 365 asynchronously with these members that you can also then, hey, if you have the opportunity, the space, the time, the budget to meet in person as well, like that just enhances the experience. But I really think we need both. And you can definitely see the shift post COVID and, even years later of we're leaning really hard back into in person, but we need to find that balance that both have value and a space, and doing both is actually the more inclusive thing to do at the end of the day.
Yeah, I was gonna say accessibility is still very, very
Mhm.
real, and financially, it can be really challenging, right? To think about it. I have a wonderful contact in the, climate change community, and, one of the big things she was talking about, well, she's like, "Most of us can't go to a $5,000, climate change conference in Europe." Like, that's just not the
Right.
reality, but there's a huge value still to those individuals in your membership who can't attend in person. They've got great things to say. They may have insights that you as the community builder, as the like association team need, but you might be missing out on them because you don't get it. Like you may never meet them in person. And what does that mean? How do you keep them in community if they're never going to access those in-person opportunities?
Right. It's not leaving any segment of your membership behind for those kind of arbitrary reasons at this point in time.
Yeah, and yeah, I just love it, and I'm really excited personally. I love the energy of an in-person, and bringing that to online is really challenging. It doesn't just naturally occur, but I do think that there's something there that we need to kind of figure out what that looks like, and I don't know of a group that's exactly got what I would say, oh, here's the like model, but really cool. I love where you're headed with this. So if anybody has any questions or comments or things they'd love to ask for Catherine, please jump in. I'm going to bring those up in a minute. But these are like 20, 25-minute chats. So like we're already at 20 minutes. It goes so fast when you're talking community. But one thing I always like to ask to people who come on is, if they're trying to build this community of belonging, they're trying to get a design that brings people back in, what is the biggest piece of advice you'd say, hey, think about this, and aim for here first?
Yeah, it's a tough question because there's so many things come to
Yeah.
mind, right? So it's like, the main thing. Uh, I'm gonna say two and stick to two for now, but being transparent, first of all, is huge from the community building side of things. So if you're a community manager or if you're the organization creating an online community space for members, be transparent, right? Like we've talked about, there are limited resources, particularly for nonprofits.
Yeah.
And making that, hey, members just might ask for things that you can't deliver, and being transparent of, hey, like, thanks for the feedback, but here's why that won't necessarily be something we can build this year, but we'll keep it in mind, or anything like that, where you can make people feel heard, but also not shooting down what they are asking for in those situations. And being transparent on the community. Like if somebody does say something about your organization or the community in your community where everybody can see it, in your membership, also not like shutting that down, being transparent, being really human in the moment with them. As staff of the organization running the community, it opens the door for other members who are kind of watching that conversation happen to say, oh, okay, like this is a space where we can all make mistakes. This is a space where I can also be transparent about my own, situation or experience or anything like that. So uh, the transparency thing from the organization side of it is so multifaceted of like the value it can bring to the members, of also just leading by example, right? That
Yeah.
transparency, that being part of your own community as well, and having the conversations with your members uh, makes it really easy for members to want to participate back in return, right? They need to see those kinds of examples, and consistency, right, is my sort of number two big thing here.
Love that.
Of, if you're building belonging, you can't show up a whole lot one month and then go quiet for 3 months. And that goes for like programming, that goes for discussions, that goes for outreach, and how you're talking to the audience or your members about community. Not just onboarding members one time when they're brand new and then never talking to them again about community, like, and let them figure it out, like it's there, they'll just do it. Having campaigns and situations and other aspects of the organization that do bring up and remind members of the community and why to use that. And yeah, consistent programming, right? Whether that is live in-person events or virtual events, or like rituals within the community platform itself, where um, like tip Tuesdays, whatever it is, those goofy kind of things that honestly I don't lean that hard into that sort of stuff, but it's great for certain audiences. And those are the sort of things that you want to test out, ask members for their feedback of, okay, check what are they actually participating in? Where are you getting most value? And lean in and do more of those activities and conversations and programming that members are responding positively to. And yeah, have your members help you with that too. Engage volunteer members to help keep up the consistent conversations in the community. Staff don't need to do it all by themselves, right? And most of the time can't, or leaders of the organization, even if it is volunteer run. Leaning on more members who are just volunteers within the community, because that can be a little bit easier, smaller of a role for young professionals or new people to the community who want to get involved with the organization but aren't ready for like a committee or a task force or something bigger. They're not going straight into your board necessarily, but starting, that's a really great first step to into volunteerism. And that helps with that transparency and consistency, and just expands the capacity of staff.
Those are both great pieces of advice. I should probably remove like the one piece of advice because I don't think anybody only has one piece of advice for community builders. This is about 50. But I think one of the things that, when you're talking about transparency that really for sure resonates with me is that there's a vulnerability to community building that I think we've all tried to like automate our way out of or build tech that removes that in some sort of fashion because it is uncomfortable to be vulnerable, right? Like it is nice to have structure to not like put yourself completely out there. And I'm not saying you have to like TMI your whole story and what you had for dinner last night, but I do think when people are joining something, they have some level of expectation that they're going to be sharing to some degree, and whether that's just professional or it goes into like why did you go into nonprofit work at all, like our community talks about wild things, and sometimes I just end up talking with other moms because at the end of the day, that's the thing that we drove in on first and foremost, despite the fact also being in nonprofit, right? Like there's all these different reasons why people connect. But if I didn't show up like every week, I try to take anywhere from like 2 to 5 calls with community members just to hear them talk about what they're up to and to show up as like here I am, I'm a real person, and hoping that like by doing that, that helps other people to get into that mode. And I think you're constantly having to the community is evolving. Membership is going to change over time. Who's the most involved is going to change. I love your suggestions about volunteers, but if you can create some level of consistency, I think it just really helps people feel that it's something they can count on, right? Like there's something behind the scenes that they can count on, whether it's something weekly, whether it's something monthly, whether it's something as simple as, oh yeah, I know they're always talking about these kinds of topics, and this is the place I come to have those conversations. I think it really ends up, uh, people are looking for spaces of consistency right now in a wild world of constant noise. They're looking for that more than I think they were before.
Right. Yeah. It is a wild time, and any safe space that we can build for people where they do feel like they belong and are welcome, and it's not the wild west of the internet necessarily.
Yeah.
It's going to be great. People will get that. And yeah, exactly like what you said of you try to have one-on-one conversations with a few of your community members each week. That's absolutely what I try and coach my customers on all of the time. Like, hey, there does need to be a staff person who actually owns the community, essentially acts in that community manager role. Uh, Even though so many associations often don't have somebody that's necessarily doing that, or they don't hire a full-time person. They should. That's another area of opportunity.
Yeah.
But just that, yeah, those consistent conversations with a few different people regularly, you're keeping those touch points and you're keeping it human and real with them. And that is what people are starved for right now in, yes, this very divisive and AI heavy and, confusing world that we somehow now live in.
It's crazy. There are times for sure. I think community builders especially are like, "Ooh, I feel needed in a way that I didn't feel needed 10 years ago," right? And it is, this groundswell. So it's super cool. Well, this is already amazing. Nikki just jumped in. Love the conversation so much. Serena, great point here. Online community breaks down the barriers of space and time, right? Like that still is this is still something that exists, particularly if you're global or national or you have a large catchment area for your communities. This is fantastic. And last but not least, as we end off, this is where you can find the lovely Catherine. Please reiterate just one more time, quick, how people can best get in touch with you and what you do out in the world.
Yeah. So please do check out confidentcommunities.com. That's my website. It's just me. LinkedIn is also a really great place to connect with me. I'm a current vice president of the Community Consultants Collective. So if there are other community consultants out there, check out the Community Consultants Collective or CCC. And find me in there. That's a great place. I love connecting with people like Tasha as well. And yeah, I'm happy to help with anything community, but really for those professional association online communities, bringing engagement and value to their memberships. That's what I love doing, and I want to keep doing it.
That's awesome. Well, thank you to all who joined today. Thanks. We're just coming in at the 30-minute mark, so we did it. Catherine, thanks so much for joining me. This was fantastic and so many great tidbits here. I hope everyone enjoyed. So cheers. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.